My name is Hannah Keegan. I'm a lead detective for a top-secret New York Police Department task force. We're assigned to the unexplained cases that border on the paranormal. This is Division 13, and here are our case files.
I sat alone in my truck in the Division 13 underground garage, the city's distant pulse muffled beneath layers of concrete and steel. My eyes locked on the rearview mirror, but the reflection staring back wasn't just me. It was ghosts, memories from the past. The cold metal of the steering wheel pressed into my palms, grounding me, but in my mind, the noise was deafening. Tanks rumbling in the dust, radio static crackling, Sergeant Harrison Cole's voice cutting through the chaos, asking for help.
Cap. Echo. Need assistance. Taking heavy casualties.
I closed my eyes and tried to calm my thoughts, memories washing over me the way a nightmare lingers long after waking. A sharp tap on my truck's window yanked me back to the present. Overton and Kendrick stood there, faces etched with concern. They'd come looking for me after my abrupt departure, wanting to check on me. I hesitated, taking a slow, deep breath to get my emotions under control before telling them I was okay, just needing time to think. They didn't press. Sometimes trust means patience. I nodded and drove off, the city lights blurring past as I tried to outrun the past. The questions gnawed at me like rats nesting in the walls of an abandoned tenement. How had Cole survived? Was he always one of them? The Nullborn? Or had something somehow reshaped him into the monster he was now? And that transformation, what did it mean? Impossible questions clawing at my sanity. Eventually I headed home. After recent events, every shadow felt like a threat, every silence hiding an attacker waiting to pounce. I checked every corner of the house. The click of the front door deadbolts a poor shield against the unknown. Pouring myself a shot of whiskey, I tried to quiet the storm raging in my head. When the distilled calm of the alcohol finally settled in, I made a decision. After taking a final long, deep breath, I picked up the phone and dialed Overton's number. She sounded relieved to hear from me. As it turns out, she was with Kendrick at a nearby bar, talking about me. She confessed that she was hoping they would get this call. "Why don't you guys head over to my place?" I said. "I've got a story to tell." When they arrived, I thanked them for coming, poured drinks and gestured to the couch. Settling in across from them and steeling myself, I began. Before the badge, before Division 13, I was in the Army, Special Forces. Came from a long line of servicemen. Vocational testing pegged me high, combat aptitude off the charts. The Army thought I'd be good at killing, I said dryly, watching their faces tighten. Turns out they were right. Starting as a second lieutenant, I quickly worked my way up to captain and was given a combat unit of my own. Then came my last active duty mission in early '79, Afghanistan. We were sent to train resistance fighters along the Soviet-Afghan border in the Kaldar district, strictly to train and observe, not engage. The village we worked with was more than a dot on a map. It was a patch of humanity carved out in the midst of hell. Over months, we spent a lot of time with the villagers, sharing their fears and hopes. We knew their names, their stories. They became more than allies. They became friends. This area was very contested, with a growing number of Soviet incursions. It was believed at the time that the Soviets were testing the waters, preparing to go scorched earth in the region. When command got word of a massive Soviet armored incursion heading our way, we got the order to withdraw. First Sergeant Harrison Cole was my second in command. I nodded to Kendrick at this point, saying, "You remind me of him, gung-ho, fiercely loyal." Kendrick nodded silently in reply. When the word came down from command, Cole rejected the idea.
"We can't just leave them,"
he said, pleading.
"We know these people. They invited us into their homes. We broke bread with them. We can't abandon them. Their deaths would be on us."
I warned him, "Our mission's recon only. We need to withdraw. That's the order from command." Even as we began preparations to roll out, we could hear the rumble of tanks approaching from the distance. Already we could hear the first screams echoing, and gunfire began tearing through the village streets. Cole couldn't handle it. He turned to me and said that if command didn't give permission to engage, that he would stay and fight alone. I refused once again, and as the screams and pleading of the villagers continued, Cole ripped his insignia from his uniform and told me,
"I'm staying, Cap. It's the right thing to do. Some part of you has to know I'm right."
As he turned to head toward the sounds of battle, I drew my sidearm and repeatedly warned him to stop. I warned him that this was desertion, and I was within my rights to shoot him if I had to. He turned back to me one last time with sorrow and determination etched into his expression and said,
"You know this is the right thing to do, Cap. I'm going. If you want to stop me, you'll have to shoot me."
I couldn't bring myself to fire. Cole turned away and with determination headed straight toward the firefight. That was the last time I saw him. I turned to my unit and gave the order to withdraw. We proceeded to evacuate the area, trying not to look into the shocked and betrayed faces of the villagers who had called us friends. I paused, took a sip of whiskey, watching Kendrick and Overton's faces tighten with the weight of it all. "Feels like a confession," I admitted. Letting loose with a sigh, I continued. It wasn't long before Cole was completely cut off from us, trapped behind enemy lines. He pleaded for help over the radio.
Cap. Echo. Need assistance. Taking heavy casualties.
I damn near begged command for permission to return to the village and engage. I told them I had a man behind the lines. They refused. No shooting war with the Soviets, under any circumstances. Guilt tore at me as the tanks rumbled closer. Cole had been silent for a while at this point. After trying to hail him one final time, I shut off my comms. I had to think of the safety of the rest of my squad. At least, that's what I told myself as I tried to drown out the sounds of the massacre fading into the distance behind me. Another pause. Another sip of whiskey. After that, I swore to myself that I'd never leave anyone behind. Never again. When we returned to base, I was congratulated for saving my unit. Cole's death was kept quiet, since us even being in country was a secret. I understood, obeyed orders, but I couldn't shake the guilt. I left the army when my tour ended. My father pushed me toward the NYPD, said I could still do some good. I ended up joining SWAT. Billy Rath happened, Division 13, you know the rest. The room was quiet, thick with the weight of it all. After clearing his throat, Kendrick said,
"Cap, we all know that you would take a bullet for any one of us.
He turned to Overton, who nodded silently.
And you have to see that none of that was your fault. War does terrible things to people, forces us into no-win situations. That wasn't on you."
Overton nodded, voice full of emotion, but steady.
"I know I might be a new recruit, and I don't have the history that you and Kendrick have, but I'll say it anyway. We believe in you, Shipman. I know I can speak for the whole unit when I say Division 13 will follow you to hell and back."
I nodded with gratitude, not quite trusting myself to speak without revealing the depth of emotion raging inside. I finally looked at them and quietly said, "Thank you." We called it a night. The next day at HQ, the conversation turned to the black site where they took Cole. The Anchorage facility, also known as the Tomb. I told the team that according to Loretta Smith, the Tomb was a black site run by the CIA. Evidently, it's existed for years, but it was specially retrofitted after the Billy Rath case. The Rath kid's there, I told them. It's pretty much the only place that can hold him. Evelyn Carter's remains are there as well. I opened up the floor for the team to be honest and candid with their insights. Overton began by expressing dread at the CIA believing that they could contain or control the Nullborn.
"For all we know, they're running experiments on the Nullborn, trying to weaponize them."
"I almost guarantee that's what they're doing."
Kendrick added in agreement, his eyes flashing.
And Cap, speaking candidly, being a black man in this country, in this world, it's hard to trust the top of the food chain. I became a cop to make a difference, to try to change things from the inside out. But government agencies, history's shown us, they don't exactly have any of our backs.
I nodded in agreement, thinking that wasn't a bad perspective to start from. We can't afford blind faith, especially when it comes to something this important. I'll talk to Smith and see what else I can find out, I said. What I didn't say aloud was how much the thought of the CIA experimenting on people in the name of security chilled me. I thought back to Afghanistan, orders that killed, silence that buried truth. I had no reason to believe this was any different. Overton shifted the conversation.
"On top of this, I feel like the Nullborn are always a step ahead of us. They seem to know a whole lot about us, while we know next to nothing about them. It's a disadvantage."
I nodded at this. It definitely felt as though we were always in reactive mode. We needed to go on offense.
"I've been thinking."
Kendrick noted.
Aside from the fact that we don't know how Cole survived, It also seems like he made it way too easy for us to catch him, like he wanted us to.
Overton added,
Not just catch him, but in that particular chamber. There has to be a reason.
I agreed. Suit up. Let's see what we can find. Garage in 10. Back underground, the chamber was cold and silent. The air was thick with dust, hanging heavy and stale. Overton was the first to notice it. Her sharp eyes picked out a section of wall that didn't match the rest of the chamber. The weathering was slightly different, the stonework and coloring not quite matching the rest of the chamber. Pulling out a folding knife, she pried at it. It shifted and then slid free, revealing a deep depression in the wall behind. Shining our flashlights into the cavity, we spotted what I can only describe as a tablet. Rectangular, about 9 inches in length on the long side. It seemed to be made of metal, but with no sign of rust. And there were inscriptions embedded below the surface. As I reached in to remove it from its hiding place, I found that it was surprisingly lightweight. I held it carefully as we examined the archaic inscriptions on the object's surface.
It's writing,
Overton noted.
but not any kind of language I recognize.
Let's get this back to HQ for analysis, I said. See what our lab techs can find out. As we stepped off the elevators back at HQ, we found Loretta Smith waiting for us.
Anchorage is dark.
She said, her voice tight with urgency.
They've missed 3 scheduled check-ins. No response on secure channels. I've got transport standing by at LaGuardia.
Nodding, I handed the tablet to a passing lab tech. Get this to Russo, please. Tell her to run everything. To Smith, I said, you can brief us on the way. Meet us at LaGuardia in 60. Turning to Overton and Kendrick, I felt myself settle into that calm, familiar place in my mind. I was ready. Suit up. We're going to Alaska. End case file 013-005.
Thank you for listening to this Division 13 case file. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to subscribe so you never miss what's coming next. Inner Circle members get early access to all Kaine Legacy Studios projects, including exclusive Division 13 episodes, live Overdrive radio mixes, extended Lux Manifest content, shoutouts in video credits, and more. You can become a member by clicking Join below. We're just getting started, so don't miss out. Become a channel member today.